Luke lost 38 pounds of fat and gained 21 pounds of muscle in our first 6 months of working together. Take a look at this guy. My goodness. And here is his DEXA from August of 2024 to January of 2025. So just under 6 months. The best part is he was able to do this as he was working as a COO of one of the largest and quickest growing home service businesses, A1 Garage Doors. So he was traveling 2 to 3 times a month. He was taking clients out to dinner at steakhouses, and he was taking his wife out on date nights and still able to enjoy a cocktail from time to time. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we were able to do this. My name is Jacob Beneventi, and for the last 10 years, I have been the owner of Limitless. And our goal is to help 6- and 7-figure owners, executives, and investors just like you transform your physique so that you feel better, you look better, and most importantly, you lead better. Because let's be real, you deserve to have a body that matches your standard of excellence, and as a leader, you can't afford not to. Now, if you want to learn how to turn fitness into something that robs from your life to a tool that actually enriches every area of your life, from your relationships to your confidence to your impact, make sure you follow me on Instagram and subscribe to this YouTube channel. So I made a shift this year. In 2025, I stopped working with everybody. I always wanted to serve people through fitness, and I would work with anybody who was interested in coaching and willing to pay. But in 2025, I took a step outside of the business. I looked back at it and I said, who here wins? Who here gets results? Who is this business for? And it became very clear exactly who was winning and getting results and those who weren't. And it came down to these 6 attributes. We wanted to work with people who were growth-minded. And the people who are getting results are people who are growth-minded. They're not just in the gym growing and developing, but they're growing in every area of their life. They believe in self-investment. They invest into their business, they invest into their mindset, they invest into their body. Additionally, they're self-closers. I don't want to have to convince somebody to do anything. I don't want to have to sell to you why getting in shape is good. My clients are self-closers. My best clients have been the ones who pay the quickest and the easiest, and they don't need to be convinced or sold. They're just ready to rock. They do the research and they're ready to go. They're also referral machines. So people who reach a certain level of success typically have harmonious relationships and good relationships with other people. And so they tend to, when they transform, send their people our way. They're also committed. Now, this seems obvious, but a lot of people are quite uncommitted to the things they say they're going to do. The people we want to work with and the people who've done really well here are people who are committed individuals. Additionally, they are decisive and they're fast. They don't kick the can down the road and think about doing something for the next 2 months or 2 years. They just see something that aligns with their future self and they take decisive action. And lastly, they're achievers, typically 6- and 7-figure earners. Now, there's people who we've worked with who make a little bit under that, and there's people we've worked with who make a lot more than that. But typically our sweet spot is people who are making 6 to 7 figures per year. They say success leaves clues. When somebody earns and gets to a certain point in their life where they're generating that much value, it's typically because that means they've made certain decisions that their life is in their control, and they're going to show up and take full responsibility for their results or lack of results. Here's the deal. I don't think fitness has done a very good job of serving successful people. Imagine the typical gym bro yelling at a guy like Luke, who's the COO of one of the fastest growing home service businesses in the world, maybe the fastest, and yelling at him, telling him to sacrifice and grind harder. Luke doesn't need to hear that. And that's because that's not really the pathway that's going to lead to results. That's going to lead to burnout, because you don't build your business by working harder and grinding harder, do you? No, you don't. The same is true with fitness. You develop your fitness by having a very clear vision of where you're heading, one that excites you, just like you'd want to have in your business. You have simple and repeatable systems that you can install into your life, and you have wise counsel. And that's how we've developed this program. And so we've seen with high achievers, this is what they really need in order to see life-changing results. Now, when we made this shift in the business, it was almost magical in terms of the impact. Our perfect client just started showing up at our doorstep, and they started getting miraculous results. And what we found is when guys like Steve and Joey and Dean found the right system, the results were, well, I'll just let you watch for yourself.
He really changed my life. I'm down 22 pounds, 10% body fat, and now I've completely changed the trajectory of the future of my life and the trajectory of, of who I am as a human being and who I'm becoming and stepping into because of the coaching that you've gifted me and given me.
I mean, I've added years to my life. Let's call it what it is. And you've seen the blood work.
Yeah.
Blood work, I'm taking time bomb, pre-diabetic. This was bad, that was bad. Now the blood work, pristine.
If I showed 2020, 2021 Steve, the current version of Steve, like 3-4 years later, I would be like, dude, here's a blank check. And at least for me, the order of events were like, I fixed my fitness and I got that in line, and I fixed my health, and then my performance and everything else became more clear. Full transparency, like completely changed my life.
Now you just saw 4 guys there, of course, but this system also works for women, just like it did for Katie and like it did for Rebecca. I have to say this. I don't guarantee results, but I will say our average client loses 25 pounds of fat in their first 90 days, and many also see a big increase in lean muscle. Not always, but often. Like Bree. Bree gained 10 pounds of muscle in her first 2 months of working together. Take a look at her DEXA scan and look at that trend. Muscle went straight up 10 pounds in 2 months. And you guys, all these results that you're seeing, they happen not by chance, but because we follow a formula. This is the Limitless Method, which we'll dive into here in a second. This is really the purpose of this video, is to show you how we get these results predictably. And I want to walk you through some of these components. And what you'll notice is each of them are integral in terms of being able to see consistent and predictable results. This is something to recognize. Most people, they have vague goals. They're afraid to track data. They don't have a game plan with their workouts. They are kind of in the feeling game of like, I feel like I'm doing the right things. You might be working out, you might be eating healthy, but you don't really have the data to know what that feeling means in terms of objective reality. And lastly, and this is especially true for a lot of people who are busy, is they just don't have accountability. So accountability is really what tethers everything together. Again, we'll talk about this more. Our clients, what we do is we kind of reverse all of that, right? We have clear and compelling goals that excite you. We know what to track and why it's important. We have a minimal and effective training protocol. And we teach our clients how to enjoy food while also hitting their targets. That way their nutritional landscape or their nutritional approach isn't a prison. It's actually one that allows them to really enjoy their life still while making small tweaks over time. Lastly, they have accountability. They've hired coaches because they probably have coaches in other areas of their life and people keeping them accountable with their mindset, with their business, and with adopting new skills, just like you'd have if you were a professional athlete. You'd have a bunch of coaches who keep your mind sound, who keep your body strong. That is the purpose ultimately, I believe, of having a coach. So here is the Limitless Method: clear aim, biometric analysis, time-efficient training, flexible nutrition, and high-level accountability. Clear aim. This is the bedrock. This is the foundation for being able to achieve really anything in life, especially when it comes to your fitness. Now, most people know what they don't want. They're like, I don't want to be where I'm at currently. And so like, where do you go from there? What do you do with that? And so getting really clear on one, where somebody is, but also where do you want to go? What excites you? And in fact, I want to challenge you right now. If you're watching this video on YouTube or elsewhere, just pause it real quick. Take 20 to 30 seconds and think about your goal. Think about what would be really exciting for you to accomplish over these next 12 months. Like you're sitting in a house, or you're on vacation, or you're walking into the office. How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? When you're by the pool, how do you want to look? Visualize that. And I'm curious, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below. I want to hear about your goal. Really what it comes down to is this one question. What would you aim at if there was no limitations to what you could achieve? No limits. And that should really inform how you set up your goals in general. Next, biometric analysis. This is just really a fancy way of saying we need to track data on your body. There's actually an objective range when it comes to body composition, meaning body fat percentage, where men and women are going to be optimized. You see, men are going to feel their best, look their best, and hormonally be sound, somewhere in the 10 to 15% body fat range. And knowing this makes it easy because when somebody goes and gets a DEXA scan, not one of these in-bodies, which are highly inaccurate, but an actual DEXA scan, which is the industry standard of body composition, it'll tell us exactly how much fat you have, how much muscle you have, so we know where you are, and then we know exactly where you need to be to have the look, to have the feel. Men, Again, they're going to be optimized somewhere between 10 and 15%. And with women, they're going to be optimized and feel their best somewhere around 17 to 24%. So all of your energy early on in fitness should be spent getting to that ideal body composition range where you're going to feel your best, look your best, perform your best. And then the rest of your life should really be spent in that range. Now, you'll still have goals, of course, but you got to optimize for composition. What body composition do you want to be at? What do you want your standard to be? Next, we have time efficient training. This is important because a lot of people will bite off more than they can chew when it comes to getting fit. In fact, a lot of people will stay away from the gym or working out at all because they believe that they need to spend an hour a day or 2 hours a day in the gym. But that's not true. In fact, our average client and all the ones you've seen so far, they typically spend about 2 to 4 sessions a week in the gym, and those last about 45 minutes. So an hour and a half to 3 hours is the average. Now, if you have more time and you like being in the gym, you can spend more time. But most of our clients don't. They just want fitness, again, to be a tool that helps them amplify their confidence so that they look better, feel better, and perform better. That's it. Now, if you have the time, again, there's nothing wrong with spending more time in the gym. You just don't have to. And when you have the right training method for you and your goals, you can spend less time and get more results. Okay, flexible nutrition. Nutrition, it's where most people really get stuck and where most people get confused. And I don't blame you. I mean, a lot of people are confused when it comes to nutrition these days just because of how much information is out there. In fact, there's too much information. So it leads to confusion. Like take David, for example. David came to me, he was doing all the right things. He was training 7 days a week. He was, eating as clean as he possibly could. And he was trying to stay away from carbohydrates. But then I asked him well, how many calories are you eating? And he was like, I don't know. I just know I'm eating a lot of ribeye and butter and not eating carbs. And I was like, okay, so you feel like you're eating healthy? He's like, yeah, but I'm training 7 days a week. Why don't I look like it? Why isn't my body reflecting how hard I'm going in the gym? And I knew right away it was just nutritional awareness. You see, when you lack awareness with your nutrition, that typically leads to frustration. In fact, if you lack awareness in any area where you have a goal that you're trying to achieve, that typically leads to frustration. And so David, after working together for 11 months, he went from this to this. I mean, look at it. It's absolutely absurd. And the one thing that we were able to shift and optimize was his nutrition. In fact, we were able to get him eating more carbohydrates than when he started with me. More carbs. Yay, carbs. Now, when it comes to nutrition, compliance is the science, meaning the nutritional framework you're following, you have to be able to do it and sustain it. Because if you can't do it, or if it's too restrictive, it will only be a matter of time before you don't do it. We just focus on the key things that lead to change, which are really energy balance and macronutrients. From there, our clients can kind of backfill with whatever they really enjoy. Because again, if your nutritional framework sucks and is super restrictive, you just won't do it. And if you won't do it, you're not going to get results. I love this stuff if you can't tell. Okay, let's keep it pushing. Next, we got high-level accountability. There's this accountability study that I love. It's that you're 10% likely to achieve a goal just by having one. But when you have a goal and you have a plan, it goes up to 50%. If you have a goal, you have a plan, and then you speak it outwardly, it goes up to 65%. And if you have a goal, you have a plan, you speak it outwardly, and you have a weekly accountability meeting with a coach or a check-in with a coach, it goes up to 95%. So if you want to hack success in anything, you invite accountability in. And we have so many accountability, let's call them touch points within our program, from our goal setting to our daily communication, to voice memos back and forth, to weekly reports, to monthly coaching calls. There's so many opportunities for our clients to just win and win and win. And that's how we try to set up the program. Make it so easy for the people that we serve that it would almost be impossible for them to be unsuccessful. Like they literally just have to not do it. And we don't work with people who don't do it. We don't work with people who don't show up for themselves. So most people win. Again, no guarantees. The reality is fitness is not rocket science. It's not rocket science, and it shouldn't be. It should be very clear. And when a client starts with us, we actually develop a roadmap. There's 3 primary phases that we take our clients through. The first one is a rapid fat loss phase, where we optimize their body for composition. So we lose the fat, and if you do it the right way and you do it in a healthy way, You can lose the fat and lose it forever. And then what we do is we go into a metabolic optimization phase where we balance things out. You've probably lost weight in the past and maybe you've gained it back. Maybe you lose weight for the wedding or the event, and you see it all the time, right? People do some crazy crash diet, some crazy routine, 75 hard, they lose a lot of weight, and then they can't sustain the lifestyle, so they lose it. Because we customize and install our framework into somebody's life and we do it together, it's a slow process of changing your lifestyle. And so we lose the fat, and then we do a metabolic optimization period where essentially we get you back to a really healthy state, but we lock in that new body composition as your normal. From there, identity integration. What allows somebody to see a massive transformation and sustain that transformation that they achieved? It's that they've shifted their identity. That's not what they do, it's who they are. That's the ultimate goal, is to help somebody figure out who they want to be. Give them all the tools and the roadmap to allow them to achieve that transformation. And then to work together to really just embody that new way of living, new way of viewing yourself. And it's true, when you transform physically, there's a lot of internal work that has to be done as well to affirm that transformation and keep that transformation. Because here's the deal. If you don't believe that you're worthy of the result that you achieved, then it'll only be a matter of time before you push back against it and maybe regress a little bit. So the mindset, the identity, how you see yourself, it's very important. And we have a process where we help people easily and in a simple fashion by installing new identity, which is pretty fun. From there, that's where people start to set bigger goals. You know, they thought, oh, maybe I'll just achieve this, maybe I'll just lose this weight. And then from there, they've developed so much confidence that they'll set their sights on new things. Like David, he did a men's physique show. And, you know, Luke, he got down to 12% body fat. And then he's like, I want to get to 10% body fat now. Success breeds success breeds success. And now we have this whole community of people who are just all winning within the Limitless community. And it's pretty awesome. You know, selfishly, I love just hearing about how people's lives change outside of the gym and outside of their fitness, from them making more money to their relationships becoming more harmonious, to walking into a room and feeling different, more confident, chest out, head high, or hearing about a client taking a trip to some tropical location and just feeling so confident on the beach or at the pool. I can't get enough of that stuff. I love it. Alrighty guys, hopefully this video was insightful for you. Hopefully you got some new information that was helpful. And if any of you are curious about what it looks like to work together, you can find me on Instagram at LimitlessJacob. Shoot me the DM Limitless and we can respond back and forth. I don't have any appointment setters. I don't have any salespeople. And actually I'm getting away from doing sales calls at all. So what I'll do is I'll just send you the exact information from pricing to exactly what it looks like to work together. Again, if you're interested. And if you're watching this on our landing page, there should be some buttons down below where you can go about applying for coaching and getting into the swing of starting your transformation. If this was helpful, comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or shoot me a message on Instagram if you're watching on one of our landing pages. And I really appreciate your time. I hope it was worthwhile. Take care.